It's another edition of Time About the Movies. As you can see, I'm back in the saddle here. I'm ready to get back to it. We're taking a look at the films of April 24th, 1998, coming back from the little brief hiatus I took from the Steel City Con, but we're here now. We're here to talk about some movies from this week. 6 movies, in fact, so let's just not waste any more time. Let's jump on into it, and we're going to start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, Bokeem Woodbine, and Antonio Sabato Jr. in The Big Hit. What do you expect from the same guy that also gave us the masterpiece that is Dragon Ball Evolution? This is literally written by the same guy, and this is the first of 2 scripts that he did. This, Dragon Ball. So that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about how this movie is. I mean, it's not a bad concept. It's a concept that's been done to death so many times. You have these cool, slick guys who are contract killers. They're guys who do these heists, and then they pull this heist, and then they pull a heist that has some accidental consequences to them, and now they become public enemy number 1. It's been something we've seen done over and over again, time and time again. But this time around, it's something that is so obnoxious and annoying. It's just kind of like the humor in this is obnoxious and annoying. Like this isn't a bad concept, but it's just bad execution. Just from the jokes. The jokes are not funny. They're referential jokes. They're jokes that are like it's like the writer of this went into a video store, saw what was on the rack, and saw something like A Few Good Men, or saw something like Spice One, and said, you know what? These things exist. This movie will remain relevant forever because if I put something in there that exists already, then that's instantly going to make it memorable. Which, no, it doesn't. You have to actually have a point to what you're trying to do here. And this just does not have a point to it. I mean, sometimes the action sequences can look pretty cool. You can definitely tell that this is a John Woo film that he's worked on as a producer. Like, this is Wesley Snipes' production company from John Woo, along with John Woo, as they're trying to make the East-West merger even further. But it just doesn't really work out that way. It's a movie that's trying to be something unique and different, trying to be something a little bit more clever and more fun, but it just doesn't have it, man. It's just a movie that just really is not as good as it should be with the talent that they have on here. Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, Avery Brooks, Bokeem Woodbine, Antonio Sabato Jr., Lainey Kazan, Elliot Gould, Leela Roshan. You've got good talent in here, just bad execution on so many levels, and it's just like, it's the humor that just kills the movie overall. Like, the humor makes it so unwatchable because they're lazy attempts to try to make comedy out of this. It just is it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth sitting through the whole movie just to have these terrible jokes sitting right in front of you. Like, if the comedy had been a little bit better, this movie would have been passable, but it's uncomfortable to sit through this one time alone, let alone trying to watch it a second time. It's not worth it, and it's just so much potential wasted on this movie. It really could have been a whole lot better, but unfortunately, it just isn't. It's a bad film with so much potential there. Just the comedy just ruins it altogether. It's a terrible film, but it's at least not as bad as our next movie, which was one of the many attempts to bring back Tarzan for a new generation, and that was Tarzan and the Lost City. With special effects that would make Ray Harryhausen spin in his grave. I mean, I don't even know if he was dead when this movie came out, but I'm sure if he was dead, he was spinning in his grave. It's just, like, why? Why did you put those effects in there, in that trailer? Like, did you really think you were going to sell people on this movie by putting those effects in there? Just, honestly, what was the thinking behind that? And really, what was the thinking of making this movie altogether? This is a film that was just like, it wants to be a throwback to the old Saturday afternoon matinee movies, like it's something like an Indiana Jones movie, but it's just not. It's a movie that's trying to be edgy and cool for the Pepsi generation, and it looks like something you'd see on the WB around this time, which coincidentally, they made a WB TV series on Tarzan, not but 5 years later. It has nothing to do with this, but still, man, it's just like, come on, like, you really thought you were going to sell this movie to people, and it would turn out to be a success. And it's not like Tarzan has failed to adapt into modern generations. Of course, we have the Disney movie, which we'll eventually get into here, but there was also a couple of good Tarzan movies that came before and after this. We had Grace Stokes' The Legend of Tarzan, which had Ralph Richardson in there that got a late Oscar nomination. And then just recently we had something like The Legend of Tarzan, which with Alexander Skarsgård and Margot Robbie and Samuel L. Jackson, which was actually a really good movie that did get a lot of underrated that didn't get the appreciation that it probably should have gotten, but it was an underrated movie. It was actually one that I'd say definitely check that one out, because it's actually a much better movie than you would give it credit for. But that one was at least trying. This, I have no idea what they were trying to do with this movie here. I mean, you basically have Casper Van Dien playing John Clayton, which I completely forgot that, because if you've seen the Disney version, the name Clayton is used for the bad guy in this, and Tarzan in that movie is just named Tarzan. And so in this movie you have Casper Van Dien as John Clayton. It's the night before Jane Potter's wedding, and her bridegroom receives a disturbing vision of his childhood homeland in peril, and the educated explorer and treasure seeker Nigel Ravens is seeking the legendary city of Opar to plunder its ancient treasures and undiscover dangerous powers. And I don't really need to tell you the rest of the plot here. You know exactly where this is going to go. And honestly, if you took the name Tarzan off of this probably would have not helped the movie regardless, but I'm pretty sure they put the name Tarzan on there to give this some kind of a thing, to give this movie a push. But no, this thing bombed big time. It cost $20 million, $2 million on this movie to make, in terms of how much it made. Like, it's a bust on so many levels. It's just like, I mean, right from the get-go, just the effects alone that they put in that trailer to convince people to go see this, it's just, I can't believe they got away with it. But people caught on, nobody went to go see it, and it quickly came and went, and for good reason. So I don't think I need to say anything more about this one. Let's just move on. Tarzan the Lost City, let's push that aside, and let's move on to the next movie, which is Gwyneth Paltrow in Sliding Doors. So you have a movie here that alienates between two different storylines. You have two paths from the central character, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, that could take, depending on whether she catches a train. And you see these different little situations here. It's kind of reminiscent of something like He Said, She Said in a way, but this draws a number of comparisons to Krzysztof Kieslowski's Blind Chance, which the outcome of which hints on whether the protagonist catches a train. And I feel like they took a lot of inspiration from that here. And the movie, it has some good ideas to it. It has a good concept, just not the best execution that really could have made this something really special. And it just ends up being a film that has some good casting overall, some good acting from Gwyneth Paltrow, and two storylines that could be very interesting, but it never really lived up to the full potential this movie really could have. I mean, Paltrow's trying her best to make this work. So is John Hannah, so is John Lynch, and Jean Triplehorn. They're all trying their best in this movie, but as far as the film itself goes, it's an okay movie, but that's something that definitely could have been a whole lot better. Something that could have been much better done if the story had been a little bit more put out there. I mean, I think a better example of a movie that came out in '98 that did this concept, that did the plot of Blind Chance much better, was Run Lola Run. We'll eventually get to that one a little bit later on down the road as we continue into '98, but that's a film that did that concept much better than this movie does. It's an ambitious concept, just not a good enough execution in terms of the story. It could have been a whole lot better, but it's okay for what it is. Nothing too crazy, nothing too spectacular. Good for a one-time watch, and then you probably never need to see it again, honestly. So that's Sliding Doors. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here. That's Robert Downey Jr., Heather Graham, and Natasha Gregson Warner in Two Girls and a Guy. And hijinks ensue. I got that confused with another title that came out around this time, Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place, which came out on TV around the same time. So I got confused there at first. But this is a black comedy written and directed by James Toback. And like I said, Robert Downey Jr., Heather Graham, Natasha Gregson Warner. It follows these two girls who meet on the street outside of a loft waiting for their boyfriends, and they slowly but surely realize they're waiting for the same guy, this young actor named Blake, who says that he loves both of them, but he's actually been leading a double life for several months. And they break into his loft, and when he returns, a round of accusations and explanations begin. And it's a very interesting film. Of all the films we're looking at this week, this is probably my favorite one of the bunch. It's not a perfect movie overall, but I do like this idea that the film is shot almost entirely in real time, set in this single setting. It's like you're watching a stage play is with these three really good actors really giving it their all. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. in this movie is really great. Heather Graham is really good in here. So is Natasha Gregson Warner. It's a really, really good film. It's a film that really has a lot of good elements to it, and a lot of good characters that you really get attached to. Plus, it's James Toback. I mean, James Toback makes a lot of really good, interesting little films that he does, and most of the time they turn out to be pretty good. And this is another one of those examples of a film that really is pretty solid all the way through. Not one of the best movies overall, but it's still a really good film regardless. And I definitely recommend checking this out if you're looking for some underrated Robert Downey Jr. films. This is a film that I say definitely check it out because you will not be disappointed by it. It's really well done. So with that said, on to the next movie here, and that is In God's Hands. From the director of Wild Orchid and Wild Orchid 2, and it's released by the production company created by Charlie Sheen and Bret Michaels. I think you can instantly tell where this movie ends up going. You probably never even heard this movie even existed until now, and that's probably for a good reason. You have a story basically following three young surfers on an action tour of the world's most exotic and dangerous surfing spots. They travel to Madagascar, Mexico, Bali, Hawaii, seeking the ultimate wave, a 40-foot force of nature that travels at speeds up to 35 miles an hour. And, yeah, you probably never even heard of this movie. I've never even heard of this movie. And there's probably a good reason why. If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 0% on there. And the co-writer of this movie described it as the worst film ever made. And if you expect a film from the director of Wild Orchid, Two Moon Junction, and Red Shoe Diaries to make a movie like this work, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the trailer for it looked pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything that exciting, anything that interesting, or anything engaging whatsoever. It's just them looking for a wave. It's just like there's better surfing movies about looking for waves that are done way better than this. Go look at something like a Blue Crush or the Endless Summer movies or even Surf's Up. Like, those are much better surfing movies than anything that I've seen from this little clip, the little footage I've seen here. So I haven't seen the movie. Who knows? Maybe it's a classic, or I'm not even going to try to pretend like it is, because like I didn't even know this movie even exists until I did the research on this. So I think we can all agree that's probably just a terrible movie. So let's try to get away from this movie. Let's move on to the last film. That is Vanessa Redgrave in Deja Vu. You have Vanessa Redgrave in here. You have this LA shop owner and this Englishman who meet and fall in love at first sight. But Sean is married to another woman and is to marry her business partner, and it gets complicated. I've never seen the movie, but it's going to get complicated. But it's a Vanessa Redgrave movie, so I really don't doubt that Vanessa Redgrave's probably really good in this. I've never seen the film. I don't know too much about this director's other works, so I can't really say for sure if it's any good or not. But it came out this weekend. Bring it up and move on to the next thing. So let's just move on then. I was about to go to another movie, but that's the last movie we're looking at, and that is Deja Vu. So with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into May when we get to the next episode, the summer movie season, which is going to be a very interesting one to get to. We're not getting to the big new releases just yet. We have Spike Lee's newest film, He Got Game. Before the Russell Crowe Hugh Jackman film, we have another version of Les Miserables that came out in 1998. Patrick Swayze in Black Dog, Dancer, Texas, Population 81, Still Breathing, Wild, Shooting Fish, Go Now, and The Other Side of the Subway. So 9 movies to look at next time around. And once again, just putting all these movies out there. So we're going to have a lot of movies to talk about next time around. But until then, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. So I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.